car crash cases, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts. The attorneys with Josh Wright from the law firm of Hollis Wright and host David Lamb.
Good evening and welcome into the attorneys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For the next half hour, we have a panel of experts assembled ready to deal with the topic that we believe is of interest to you. All throughout the program tonight, there are ways you can be a part of the conversation. You'll see that information at the bottom of your screen, and also the firm of Hollis Wright makes available attorneys standing by live right now all throughout the show to speak with you. So the opportunity to get some free legal advice from some actual attorneys standing by right now to speak with you. Leading our conversation tonight, partner at the firm of Hollis Wright, Carter Clay. Good to see you, Carter.
Good to see you, David. I hope you're doing well.
Doing well, thank you, sir.
We're going to be tackling the subject of truck accidents tonight. It's a subject that we've covered many times on the show before, and unfortunately, it's still a very relevant topic in society. And as we see throughout the news, that we're actually moving in the direction of perhaps someday having self-driving tractor trailers. That's very hard to believe, and it's very frightening to even think about. But we see also on the news that we've got self-driving cars coming, autonomous cars, and so that's a little bit scary as well. But right now we don't have that on the roadways. Right. But what we do have are tractor trailers, big rigs. We've got sometimes double and triple trailers going behind those tractor trailers. And we've all been in situations before where we're on the highway or interstate and we've got a tractor trailer pulling up beside us or in front of us, and it may be raining and there's water's coming off of their car in our faces, and it can be a harrowing, nerve-wracking experience. And unfortunately, a lot of times there are incidents involving tractor trailers. There are thousands and thousands of accidents that occur each and every day on our highways and interstates, and oftentimes they lead into death or catastrophic personal injuries. And this is part of the core practice area of our firm. We handle a lot of tractor trailer accident cases at our firm, and we're so thankful tonight to have a lawyer from our firm, Drew McNutt, with us here this evening to share his thoughts and ideas about tractor trailer accidents. He's doing a great job representing clients at our firm, and we were laughing the other day at the office about how many times throughout the course of the day I say, "Where's Drew?" or "Hey Drew," to ask him questions. He's somebody that I lean upon and rely upon heavily to discuss these various topics. So Drew, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me on again.
Tell us a little bit about your legal practice. Obviously, you're here to talk about tractor trailer accidents, but in general, just give us sort of a broad overview of the types of cases that you handle.
So generally, it's similar to your practice in that we handle a lot of motor vehicle collisions, trucking accidents, some premises liability work involving businesses, people that fall, and things like that. And then a little bit of med mal work and some product work, product defect claims. So it's a wide practice, but a lot of motor vehicle stuff.
Now, when we talk about motor vehicle accidents, you and I, we refer to the rules of the road oftentimes because that's the statutory law in Alabama that governs automobiles like you and I drive on the roadways and highways and interstates. But when we're talking about tractor trailers, is there a different area of the law that has jurisdiction over those types of vehicles?
There is. Obviously, the trucks have to follow the same rules of the road that we do. But on top of that, they have given, because of their size, because of the injuries that can be caused by the trucks and being involved in small motor vehicles. The federal government regulates them through the Department of Transportation. I mean, they have a set of rules that's above and beyond what we're required to abide by. Off the top of my head, there's hours of operation are a big deal. Before these rules were enacted, truck drivers would drive, all through the night for days on end. They would take various supplements in order to be able to stay awake and meet, certain time and mile requirements. And now they're required to use electronic logbooks to log the time that they're in the truck to prevent fatigue driving and things like that. But weight restrictions, they're not allowed to. The trucks can only be so heavy. And there's just a wide variety of things that they're required to abide by from the federal government.
Yeah, and if you've seen in my office, I've got a book that thick issued by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which is under the Department of Transportation, and they've issued all these rules and regulations that pertain to tractor trailers, companies that have tractor trailer drivers, and there's just a whole host of regulations.
It's everything from hiring, physicals, eye exams, drug testing. I mean, it goes through just about everything and sets out specifically what they're required to abide by.
talk a little bit about insurance requirements. Obviously, there are insurance requirements for individuals driving automobiles, and in Alabama, you've got the minimum liability limits are $25,000, so that if you cause an accident and somebody files a claim against you, you're supposed to have $25,000 in coverage. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that don't have insurance. Are there different insurance regulations that pertain to tractor trailer operators?
There are, and it depends. How much coverage is required depends on what you're hauling. If you're hauling something that's toxic or dangerous, if there's a spill, those coverages could get pretty high, up to $5 million. But generally, the coverages are going to be between $750,000 to $1 million, depending on how far you're going and what you're hauling.
Yeah, a lot of times the divisional breakdown is if you're hauling hazardous materials, I think the minimum limits are $1 million. For non-hazardous materials, it's $750,000. But as you and I know, when you're dealing with these big trucking companies, oftentimes they'll have more insurance coverage, and then on top of that, they might have excess coverage and things like that.
Let's step aside. We need to take our first break of the evening. So we'll pick right up right here whenever we come back as we head to break. After the break, an important announcement. We welcome Alexa to the show.
That's right.
We're going to do that after the break as we head to break. A reminder of how you can get in touch with the firm of Hollis Wright. All of that information right here. Stay tuned. We've got more of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright, a personal injury law firm. Thank you for watching The Attorneys. Now, we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple. Provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury-related topics, you can call, email, or text us. Or you can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or simply contact us by going to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us link. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us watching The Attorneys.
Welcome back into The Attorneys, breaking down the big rigs tonight, talking about trucking companies, trucking accidents. We'll get back to that conversation here in just a bit. A reminder before we jump back into the conversation that there are ways you can join our conversation. That info at the bottom of the screen, and attorneys standing by live right now. Even as we speak, attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by to speak with you. Guys who know the answers to all sorts of questions. Also, someone that's really smart that you can welcome into your home, Carter, is Alexa. You know, from the Amazon Echo and all of that. A neat giveaway you guys are doing, trying to get more information into people's homes.
That's right. Alexa, she's very smart. Not quite as smart as our great host, David Lamb here. But
I'm no Alexa.
Well, I don't know about that. But at any rate, yeah, this is a fun contest. And as you know, we do these contests from time to time. And in this particular contest, we're going to be giving away an Alexa Echo Show system that you can have in your house. It provides great entertainment. You can play games. It's a lot of good fun family time together. It's a very educational tool. It can provide a great deal of information, can provide you weather updates. You can put it on a timer and it can tell you when to take your food out of the oven.
Right.
So it's just a really fun opportunity for us to have a contest to sort of give back to the viewers and to the general public and make them aware that there are other opportunities to stay in touch with our law firm and to get useful information. And the way we're going to do this contest, typically as we always do, is on June 5th, Tuesday at noon, we'll do a Facebook Live drawing.
Okay.
And the way to enter the contest is to go to our Facebook page and like and share the post that is related to the contest. And this time we're also going to be promoting it on Instagram.
Right.
So you can like and follow the Instagram post as well. And you'll be entered into the contest, and we'll have a drawing. We're going to give away 2 of these. We've got one here this evening on the set, but we're going to be giving away 2. So it's just a great opportunity for us to give back to the viewers and connect with them in a different format.
Yeah, really fun. What you guys do on social media like the show, very informational, educational. All you have to do, search the firm Hollis Wright on Facebook. You'll find them there, and on Instagram. Once again, just search Hollis Wright, and you should be able to find it. And again, that giveaway is going to be taking place Tuesday, June 5th. Facebook Live at noon. It's going to be fun.
That's right.
All right, back to our conversation about trucks.
Truck accidents. Yeah, Drew, let's jump right back into it. Obviously, every state has statute of limitations. So if somebody is unfortunately involved in a tractor-trailer accident in Alabama, what is the statute of limitations in Alabama? What exactly does that mean?
The statute of limitations is the time starting from the date of the incident that injures you. You have a certain amount of time to file a lawsuit. Now, a lot of claims get settled before that time runs, but in Alabama for a personal injury, it's 2 years from the date of your accident for you to file your lawsuit.
And it is a very unforgiving deadline.
It is.
There are no ways around it. If you miss that 2-year statute of limitations, you will be forever barred from pursuing your claim.
In an automobile or a truck accident context, yes. I mean, there's a date certain, and it's the 2 years from the date of your accident.
Now, we talked earlier about regulations and rules that are unique to commercial truck drivers. And let's talk a little bit more specifically about the types of rules and regulations that they have to follow relative to keeping up with hours of operations, where they're going, those types of things.
Okay. Recently, and I know you're aware of it because some of the cases we're working, but the federal regulations mandated that all trucking companies have to go to electronic logbooks. And essentially, there are things that every truck driver has to do before he pulls out of a lot, and he has to do a pre-trip inspection. He has to mark the time when he starts that. He then has to mark the time, he or she has to mark the time when he finishes it. Then they have to mark the time when they pull out. And then periodically over the course of their trip, they have to mark where they are. And it's all to map out how long they've been in operation or in use, essentially. And because there's time requirements, that they're only allowed to, I think it's 11 hours, and then you have to take 10 hours off, 11 on, 10 off. And so that whole process is to make sure people are following those regulations to prevent fatigue driving. And those logbooks can be very useful to attorneys, simply because you can map out certain spots on the highway and determine how long it took them to get there, average their speed. Are they driving at an excessive rate of speed? Are there things that are they getting from point A to point B faster than they should be? Things like that. And the data that you can pull from logbooks it's great in a personal injury claim.
And as I understand it, the purpose of these pre-trip and post-trip inspections is to make sure that the tractor and the trailer that they are pulling are roadworthy. They've been maintained properly. The wheels and tires are in good shape, axles in good shape, engine is in good shape, so that they don't try and avoid mechanical or maintenance problems while they're driving. Is that right?
That's correct. And we see this all the time. There are, in addition to, bad driving from truck drivers, there are things that can cause accidents that are unrelated to how the drivers, he can be just driving down the road and something happens on the trailer, it breaks down, he jackknifes, he causes an accident. And the pre-trip and post-trip inspection are designed to identify those problems or potential problems before they get out on the highway. And a lot of times you'll see through the logbooks that those inspections should take a certain amount of time, but the logbooks will show you that they're just doing a very I don't want to say poor job, but they're doing it very quickly, and it's hard for them in that short amount of time to identify what they should be trying to identify.
And one other thing that they have to keep up with and do a good job of, or supposed to do a good job of, is having records concerning any maintenance or repairs or replaced items on those units, correct?
That's correct.
Talk a little bit about that.
So anytime, they're tracking the trailer and the tractor. They're tracking anytime you replace the tires. How long have those tires been on there? These companies should have records. I mean, obviously tires only have, a useful life for so long before they need to be replaced. Other parts of the truck only have a useful life for so long before they need to be replaced. It's called preventative maintenance. They're supposed to be inspecting and maintaining the truck to prevent the issues that can cause accidents on the highways. And if they're not doing that, if they're driving on bald tires or tires that are about to blow out, accidents happen and people get hurt.
And brakes are a big issue as well. Obviously, we've had trucking accident cases in our law firm where either the brakes went out, didn't work at all because of poor maintenance, or they're working at a reduced capacity, which then contributed to an accident occurring. So that is also a big problem to look out for.
Especially given the weight of the trucks. I mean, you got to have your brakes better be working given the size of the trucks that are going down the road.
And especially with some of what, an issue that a few years ago in Birmingham, several folks, trucks traveling through downtown Birmingham lost they had these carrying these gigantic pieces of equipment, and they, lost that load. And is it to blame? Was it not fastened correctly, or were they going too fast trying to deliver it? And those kind of, I think, are the issues and the answers that you can find through technology that can help kind of find out who's at fault here.
Yeah, that type of incident has happened a few times, and I think the one that you're talking about that I recall is they were transporting pipes. Yeah. And the pipes were either not loaded properly or the straps failed in some way, and these huge 1,000-pound pipes fell on the interstate and they damaged the interstate, and the interstate had to be closed down. And that's also a loading issue. But in terms of loading and unloading issues, typically the paperwork there is going to be kept by the loading dock or the loading facility, and a lot of times they have individuals that will help loading, but also the driver will help in the loading and unloading process as well. But look, there's paperwork for all of this.
Right.
And that's the key distinction between truck accident cases and automobile accident cases is there's going to be a good paper history of all of the activity that the tractor trailer was involved in leading up to the accident.
Can I ask a question we've got here? The question is this: are trucking companies responsible for the actions of their drivers, or is there that point of separation to where the trucking companies try to blame the driver, but are the companies responsible for those actions?
Generally, yes, as long as they're working within the line and scope of their employment or their agency with the company, yes. There are obviously situations where they can deviate outside of that. They're on a personal errand or a trip that can get them outside their scope. But getting outside the scope should not change the insurance coverage that covers the driver. The insurance coverage still should apply.
And those are issues that are oftentimes addressed through lawsuits, perhaps between drivers and their companies. You have what we call owner-operators, where you've got sort of a husband and wife tandem drivers, and they will be independent contractors. They'll drive for multiple companies, and they'll try and fashion it in such a way they're considered independent contractors. And then you'll also have situations where you might have Walmart where they actually employ directly the drivers. But whether you classify them as independent contractors or employees, the key issue is whether or not the master or entity is controlling the manner, methods, and means by which they do the work. If they're driving exclusively for this company and the company dictates where they go and when they go, they're probably going to be considered an employee, even if they have paperwork saying they're an independent contractor.
Right. Let us step aside. All right, our final break of the evening. As we do so, a reminder of how you can join the conversation. Would love to have you do so. We have about 8-9 minutes remaining in the show, so plenty of time for you to get your question into us. Stay tuned. More of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm attorney John Spade with the Hollis Wright Law Firm. If you have ever had a personal injury claim, the attorney handling your case has likely told you that a portion of your settlement would have to be used to pay back your health insurance company for the medical bills that they paid relating to your injuries. This is called subrogation. In this week's Legal 411, we are answering the question, what is subrogation and how does it affect your personal injury claim? When you purchase health insurance, you sign a contract with the health insurance company, which provides that in exchange for you paying a monthly premium, the insurance company will pay your medical bills when you're injured. Now, that contract has a paragraph that gives your health insurance company the right to seek repayment for the medical bills they paid if you in turn use those medical bills as a basis to recover from a third party that caused your injury. The idea is that your health insurance company would not have had to pay your medical bills if it weren't for the wrongdoing of the third party. Now, health insurance companies routinely put attorneys on notice of their subrogation claims by outlining exactly which medical payments the health insurance company is claiming a subrogation claim for and for what amounts. Throughout the handling of your case, your attorney should be aware of the amount of subrogation your health insurance company is claiming and whether all the claim subrogation is related to your underlying personal injury case. That way, if your case resolves, your attorney can then negotiate a reduction of the health insurance company's subrogation claim. Subrogation is one of the many moving parts that can affect your personal injury settlement and what you stand to recover. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and our promise to you. Thanks for watching The Attorneys on WVTM 13.
Welcome back into The Attorneys, our final segment here. So the clock is really ticking. If you want to take advantage of that opportunity to get your question into us or to speak with those attorneys who are standing by live, attorneys from Hollis Wright, about 6-7 minutes remaining in the show. So that's all the amount of time that they're going to be available. So take advantage of that if you've got a question and you want to speak to an attorney standing by live right now. Carter?
Yeah, David, I think before we jump back into talking about the specific details of the topic here tonight, I do want to say and kind of qualify the show with this statement, which is this is not a show about just completely criticizing and bashing truck drivers. Right. We want to talk about the rules and regulations that they're supposed to follow, but the vast overwhelming majority of truck drivers out there are doing it the right way. They're complying with the federal rules and regulations that they're supposed to comply with and the policies of their companies. But just like with automobile drivers, truck drivers make mistakes as well. Right. And for truck drivers, they are beholden to a higher set of standards and rules and regulations than automobile drivers are. But I just like to say that statement out there because oftentimes, sometimes people get the wrong idea. Right. But Drew, talk a little bit about, we often advise and recommend to people out there that if you're ever in any kind of automobile accident case, that it's advisable to hire an attorney early on in terms of gathering evidence and speaking to witnesses. But why is it particularly important to get to a lawyer early on when you're involved in an accident involving a tractor trailer?
I think the biggest reason that we always talk about is preservation of evidence and getting on the ground, starting to map the scene, because ultimately in these cases, they're very expert intensive. Generally, if there's going to be a dispute about liability, each side, the trucking company and the plaintiff, they're going to hire experts. And those experts are going to do accident reconstructions. And the sooner you can get your expert on the scene to take certain measurements, look at skid, look at sort of anything that goes off of the highway into the median or the side of the road, there's evidence there that ultimately can be lost or destroyed with time. I mean, if a road gets repaved over, grass regrows, things like that, it's critical that you get that early so that they can have as much evidence as they need to do an accurate reconstruction. The other thing, and I think it's one of the bigger things involved in these cases, is the EDRs, the downloads that you have to do on these trucks. All these trucks have computers in them now. You hook it up to another computer and you extract all of the data for so many seconds, usually about a minute leading up to a collision. Sometimes it doesn't record depending on the type of the accident, but generally you're going to have a bunch of data as to what was happening for that minute that driver led up to this collision. And generally you're only going to store 3 events on one of these downloads. And over time, it starts to erase. So if you don't get to it soon enough, you may never be able to get that data. And if you don't have that data, it's a lot more difficult on your accident reconstructionist to be able to recreate what happened.
And as you know, we have cases all the time where we get a copy of the accident report, and on paper, it doesn't look like it's a viable case. It looks like perhaps the injured person that came to us to represent them may have been at fault. Yeah. But then actually you go and do that download and it provides you with a wealth of information indicating that the tractor trailer operator was going 20 miles per hour over the speed limit at the time of the incident. And now all of a sudden a case that you were iffy about now turns into a good viable case where you can actually get some compensation for the injured person.
I mean, I think the biggest thing we pull from those downloads are going to be speed, speed over the time leading up to the collision, as well as braking. You know, how long did it take the driver to react? Was he distracted? Was he or she distracted? Did they have their headlights on? Did they have cruise control on? All of those things can be pulled off of these units, and it's just invaluable information in trying to prosecute a case.
Now, what has been your experience in tractor-trailer accident cases in terms of how the tractor-trailer companies will respond to their drivers being in an accident and deploying their resources to investigate?
So before I was a lawyer for injured individuals, I was a defense lawyer representing insurance companies and different businesses. And I've got firsthand knowledge of what they do in order to start defending these truck cases, because there is a lot of insurance money at play. But most trucking insurance companies have what's called a rapid response team. They've got retained experts on standby that if an accident happens at 2 in the morning, they can have people on the ground within hours talking to witnesses, mapping the scene, taking photographs. They'll have a lawyer involved, usually within 24 hours, talking to witnesses and preparing a defense. And that's the biggest thing you see. Unlike your automobile accidents, you know, you talk to the insurance company, there's an adjuster involved, and a lawyer usually doesn't get involved until much further down the road when the case is filed. But yeah, they've got folks aggressively defending almost immediately.
Well, hopping into action, aren't they? Hard to believe, but our time is almost up. But I want to give both of you the opportunity, just a final charge, a final thought from you. And Drew, if you would, you go first, please, sir.
Yeah, I think I'll just reiterate what we talked about at the start of the segment is that unlike some other claims, it is important that you get a lawyer involved early, because the evidence that you can gather and preserve early is going to be critical to winning your case. I mean, there's some cases I can think of that had we not been involved early, it would not have been a case that we would have been able to prosecute and win.
And I think it's worth reiterating to the viewers that all of these types of cases that we handle are handled on a contingency fee basis, which means we're not going to bill anybody. We only get paid if we successfully recover money for the injured person. We will advance the expenses. We will hire the experts. And this is not unique to our firm. Any law firm that handles these types of cases handles it in this way. They or us will advance the expenses to hire experts to investigate the accident, reconstruct the accident, to find out what happened. And if it turns out that it's not a case, then the injured person does not have to pay us or reimburse our expenses at all. And so you're going to get a free consultation. So it behooves everybody out there that's involved in an accident to either get to us or get to another attorney that handles these types of cases early on, because I can assure you that the trucking companies and their experts are jumping on it quickly. We rarely beat the trucking company to the scene of the accident. By the time we get there, they've already photographed it, mapped it out, looked for skid marks, the whole 9 yards.
Right, yeah, they know what they're doing for sure. Gentlemen, appreciate the time. Learned a lot tonight. Yeah, we'll do this again as we kind of wrap things up here. A reminder, even though those attorneys aren't standing by live anymore, the attorneys from Hollis Wright and the entire firm do a great job of getting back with you. So here's how you can get in touch with them. Maybe just now something's popping into your head, ways you can take advantage of this opportunity and get in touch with them. We appreciate the time as always. We'll look for you next time right here on The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.